Hello, hello. It is March 18th, Saturday morning here in, well, almost everywhere. I was going to record a video, but I'm still not great with lighting. I'm not going to lie. And I guess since we're practicing VO and speaking into a microphone for people's ears and not for their eyes necessarily, I just went ahead and I'm going to try it like this and see what happens. You would think by now I would have the lighting thing figured out, but I do not. So that is where it's at. I hope you're well. This week has been crazy. I don't know if you are a person who has children or if you work in a school system or anything like it, but a couple weeks before spring break is like an asylum. It's insane. So have grace. Have grace with your teachers and have grace if you are a teacher. Bless every one of you. And kids, it'll be okay. We'll get there. I'm sure some of you are starting spring break right now. For us here in Colorado, it's not till the week after next. So one more week. We're just going to do what I typically do, which is discuss some things that have occurred to me, things I think about. And ideally, it relates to you in some way and you get something out of it. That's always the goal. Please remember, I'm never saying anything that has never been said. I'm just saying it now and from my perspective. And I'm probably even saying it again. If you look over my last couple of years of videos, I have probably already said a lot of these things, but actually one of them, I don't think we have. In any case, let's talk about, for a moment, the process of healing. An element to the process of healing that I do not think gets discussed, that I've observed, is the allowance of healing. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I had this profound realization a few months ago. I went in for it was an acupuncture treatment where they put 5 needles inside of your ears for the purpose of releasing trauma and addiction. And very quickly I had this realization that an element to healing that I hadn't really considered was the allowing of healing. We can spend all this time being like, I want to heal, I just want to heal, and I need to look at the things that need to heal, and I want to heal. So what happens when the healing starts? At what point do we go, oh, it's happening, or oh, it's happened? I realize now that it's happening, and I am allowed to grow from that. And I get that, in many cases, we look back on something and go, oh, I haven't talked about this or that in a long time. I must have really grown or healed from it. Yes, that is part of it. But I think we can solidify it maybe sooner and celebrate it sooner if we acknowledge that the act of practicing doing things to heal works. And in fact, we will heal, which does take us into a different place in terms of who we are and it actually shifts how we identify, right? So if you are a person who is used to saying or thinking or believing that you are this way because of that trauma, well, what is to be said when you have grown past or out of or risen above the response you have to said trauma? You and we can talk about the process of identification and my feelings about that, but it does require a reintegration. If you are a person who feels the need to identify, then a re-identification. I'll just say this. I find the process of identifying exhausting. I don't think it's necessary, and I actually think it inhibits and creates blocks. It absolutely prohibits growth, in my opinion. It's sort of like imagine driving down a road, you're on a road trip, and you have to stop at every single sign and make sure you analyze the shit out of it before you proceed forward. That's exhausting. This all said, there's also an element to, for instance, the process of allowing, if you will, other people's healing. So I'll be fully transparent and say there are people in my life from whom I've derived trauma and possibly even caused trauma. I can't ignore that possibility. But for the people, if I see their face, if I see their name, if I actually see them, I have like a nervous system response to that, especially if it's been a very long time. It is unfair of me to make the assumption that they have done no growth, especially if I'm not willing to investigate. And I don't mean stalk. I mean, like, I see an ex, I make the choice to not speak to them. How could I possibly know? So another element of healing is the allowance, at least, of the possibility. When we set boundaries and decide to pull back from spending time with people, part of that needs to be checking back in and seeing if they've grown as people. It is possible. It's also possible that they won't, sure. But I don't think it does us any good to remain fixed on a concept in any way. That is our first topic. The second topic is mistakes and why they're important. Practicing mistakes, practicing being okay with making mistakes, practicing being receptive to the growth that can occur because not only we made the mistake, but we were accountable for said mistake. It makes it easier to make mistakes, which means it makes it easier to take risks. I think that's important. I think being accountable for mistakes helps keep our humility intact, and it also keeps our empathy intact. Because everyone makes mistakes. I would really love to see this whole thing that people have going where they got to micromanage people's language is gross. and unimaginative and uncreative and uninteresting. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it's cute. I think it's ableist. I think it's potentially racist. I think it's the opposite of what you think it is. The people who do that, you are not being the cute intellectual you think you're being. You're being an unimaginative micromanager. For those of you who are new to me, you may not know that I have a different, you're going to be like, well, how did we get from there to here? It is my particular perspective that our imagination is one of our greatest gifts given to us by whatever way you choose to see the term or idea of God. And it is my personal opinion that misuse of the imagination is one of the biggest sins we can commit, if I can use the word sin. We have these imaginations for a reason, and it's to create a beautiful world. And we do that by diversity and creativity and using our imagination to play and have fun and be able to float in and out of experiences in other people's lives and ways of being so that we can have experiences, not so that we can lock down and micromanage other people. So if you are a person who does that, please look at that. Why do you do that? Why do you think it's okay? What do you get out of it? What do you think is happening when you do that? Because it doesn't feel good. I'm looking at paper. I'm like, next topic. I want to talk about fear and how people use it as a crutch and how it's not interesting. So if you are a person who watches or reads or listens to folks who are trying to help others understand how to be successful in their life, or whether entrepreneurial pursuits or things of that nature, a big aspect is how to deal with your fear. I will tell you right now, as a person who is no longer interested in feeding my own fear, and I'm much more interested in looking at it straight in the face and going, you know what? You either are relevant and I do need to deal with you, or you are no longer relevant and I have dealt with you and you need to step aside. That is a much more interesting way to live. And I'm not, I am not above being annoyed by people. I wish I was. I wish I was at that point in my growth. I am not. That said, when people want to complain about something or are not able to proceed forward with something because of their fear, and not only their fear, but their resistance to doing anything about it, and somehow they are still in this place where they think it is other people's job to accommodate their fear so they can feel better, none of that is accurate. And it's exhausting. Everyone is not your therapist. And if a person is unreceptive to the work that needs to be done to acknowledge where they're at, to do the healing, to proceed forward or rise above, all of that is on the individual. And I think it would be a show of strength for those of us who have tried, who have given effort, who have put forward the time and the energy and the effort to listen and be present and hold space, to stop doing that for people who refuse to be receptive to that, who just want to complain, who just want to be fearful, and just want to live there. You are welcome to do so. I am not going to be there with you, and I don't think anybody else needs to be either. Which leads me to, there are things that people know as like cliches or platitudes, things people say to people to help them with stuff like this that are inaccurate. So, for instance, fake it till you make it is terrible advice. Please stop listening to that advice. First of all, it doesn't work. Second of all, it doesn't make sense. And third of all, that is not the gig. Y'all, better, and this is not the only one, please come up with your own, is confidence stems from loving yourself, being accountable for yourself, making mistakes and being accountable for those mistakes, rising above, moving through, growing as a person. Thereby you can be solid in who you are as a person. Fake it till you make it still implies to me that the requirement is external validation, which is also not real. So my advice to you, if you are trying to deal with anything, please don't listen to fake it till you make it. That makes you an inauthentic person, and it is obvious and it doesn't work. Be somebody that you want to be around, right? Love yourself. Be the person that you want to be around. Thereby, other people will also want to be around you. You can't do anything if you don't love yourself. Nothing can get done. Please start there. And then when you operate from that place, everything is much, much easier, including having confidence to do things that maybe you're afraid to do. You do them anyway because you want to do it. You want to do it more than you want to be afraid of it, I think is the key. And I think we'll end there for now. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will talk at you soon. Bye.